Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be ranking all of the mystery slash thrillers that I've read. Okay, maybe technically not all of them because there are some books that I read like a really long time ago, so I would have to reread them because I just don't remember them. I guess these are thrillers I've read maybe for the past 3 years or so. I do like these like tire ranking videos. I think they're really fun to watch and make, so I will probably also do this same type of video for fantasy books. Let me know if you'd be interested in watching that. And now let's look at the tires that I made. The first tire that I made is unforgettable. So these are like the real page turners with really crazy plot twists and really chilling suspense, and these are just the books that I cannot stop thinking about to this day. That's how good they were. So these are the best thrillers. The next tire is highly enjoyable. They're not like up there, like they're not like masterpieces, but they still kept me hooked, and I would definitely recommend them to other people. And maybe they had some like minor flaws that makes me not able to put them on top of the tire, but they are still really solid thrillers. The next tire is decent. They were okay, but they were definitely had some like flaws. There's definitely some things that could have been improved. The next tire is forgettable. Yes, I made this tire because I sometimes like I really don't remember what happened in the book. And I'm not even talking about books I read a long time ago, but I'm saying like I've read it like not that long ago, but just wasn't memorable or interesting to the point that I barely remember anything. Or like just in general, these books didn't leave a lasting impression on me. And the last tire is disappointing. These are books that I just simply didn't enjoy and I was disappointed with. Okay, so now that we went over all of the tires, let's start ranking all of the mystery slash thrillers that I've read. The first book that I see here is Wrong Place, Wrong Time. So I think I will put it in forgettable. Honestly, I have to admit I didn't love this book. I felt like honestly not that much happened in it, and it was really dragging, and there were like a lot of scenes that I just felt were really unnecessary. I also like just struggled to connect with the characters. So this book uses the concept of time loops. So it's about a mother that sees her son, unaliving someone, and she's obviously terrified and she doesn't understand how that happened. And then like the next day she wakes up and she realizes that it's actually the day before that happened. And then she wakes up the next day and it's 2 days before the event. So she's basically just going further and further back in time, and she has to figure out why her son did it and obviously maybe try to prevent that. So like the concept of time loops is definitely interesting, but I think the execution just left me wanting more, and I just felt a bit disappointed. Like maybe not to the point of putting this book in the disappointing tire, but I do think that I will probably forget it pretty quickly, and it just doesn't really seem like a very memorable book to me. Didn't really enjoy the ending. I just felt like just the author, like she really wanted this ending, so she made it happen, like even if it seemed a bit illogical. Didn't like this book that much. The next book that I see here is The Only One Left by Riley Sager, and I think I'm gonna have to go with unforgettable. I was like thinking between highly enjoyable and unforgettable, but this book really left me so speechless that I think it is really unforgettable. It was a real page turner, and like there were so many plot twists and all of them were so crazy and mind-blowing, and I was just really invested in this story, and I feel like it was very fast-paced, very enjoyable, and definitely unforgettable thriller. So this is the one that I can definitely highly recommend. Next book that I see here is The Naturals, and I think I will put it in highly enjoyable. So this one is like a YA mystery thriller about this group of teenagers that have like these special abilities, and because of these abilities they are recruited by the FBI to solve cold cases. They will actually kind of end up working on an active case because one of these teenagers is going to be targeted by a serial killer. It was just really fun and fast-paced. I also like that this book like explored the way a killer's mind work. It was definitely terrifying but also quite fascinating. It does also have a bit of romance in it, so I'm just saying in case you don't want any romance, maybe this one's not for you. But overall, I had a great time reading this book, and I will actually be continuing this series because it is a series, so I will let you guys know what I think about the next books in the series. But the first book was awesome. Okay, the next book on my list is Local Woman Missing, and I do want to put it in forgettable because I genuinely don't remember what this book was about. Give me a sec. Okay, so according to the review that I wrote after reading this book, what I didn't like was just how slow-paced it felt. I also was pretty disappointed with the ending because I thought it was a little bit far-fetched. There's some juicy drama involved in this book, but like you have to get through so many boring scenes that don't add much. So anyway, I just simply did not really enjoy it, and you know, the fact that I can barely even remember this book, I think it has to go to forgettable. I'm sorry. The next book is As Good as Dead. Actually, no, let's start with the first book in the series. So this is a trilogy by Holly Jackson. The first book is A Good Girl's Guide Murder, and that one goes straight to unforgettable. Actually, I would put it first in the tier because it is one of my favorite books of all time. It was just so well written. It is YA. It talks about a high school girl that is trying to prove that the guy that was deemed responsible for unaliving like a girl in her town actually didn't do it. So she's trying to prove that he's innocent. It is also a small town mystery, so I love that because, you know, you just feel like everyone is somehow connected with each other because it's such a small town. So like literally everyone knows each other, or like they can run into each other at any time, and it's always just so thrilling. The plot twists were crazy, and I also like the romance aspect. So it's not really like a big part of this book, it's like just a small subplot. But I do really like Pip and Ravi's relationship. I think they are really precious. It's probably like the only relationship in a thrill mystery book that like I really truly enjoy and I've always rooted for. Generally, it's just such a good book, and I don't know what else to say. So this one is definitely unforgettable. Like I do remember everything about it really well. That's how unforgettable it was. Then the second book in this series, it was Good Girl Bad Blood, and for that one I'm gonna go with highly enjoyable because I did enjoy it a lot. Maybe not as much as the first book, but I definitely had a lot of fun reading it. And then the last book in this series was As Good as Dead, and for that I'm gonna have to say decent. Obviously I'm not gonna spoil it for you if you haven't read this series yet, but definitely it gives off like a different vibe than the first two books. It's a lot darker and a lot ominous. I think it was the scariest one of all of them. I was really scared while reading it. Now, what I didn't like was maybe that the like big reveal happened quite early, and after that I felt like maybe it was dragging a little bit. And then I felt like some characters, actually I mean Pip, she was like acting really out of character, and I was really shocked, to be honest. I don't know, from the like writing perspective, I think it was definitely a great book. Holly Jackson's writing is amazing. Like I said, it was a very creepy and scary book. I don't think it was a terrible book, but I just couldn't enjoy it as much as the other two books in the series. Okay, next we've got actually another series. So this one, I would say it's more like a mystery book. I guess it can be classified as a thriller, but I would say it's like the least like dark and suspenseful out of all of these books. So it is a like YA mystery that talks about this girl that received this like huge fortune in inheritance. But like the weird thing is that she receives the inheritance from a man she's never met, from a man she doesn't even know. So obviously she has to find out like who this guy is. And also, in order to actually receive the inheritance, she has to like live in the house where this man's family members live. So it is a bit like awkward. There's like a lot of tension because this family of his actually didn't really receive any money. So it is very interesting. There's a lot of like puzzles in this book and riddles. It is really fast-paced. The chapters are really short, so I definitely had a great time reading this book. I think maybe I will say highly enjoyable. And then the second book in the series is called The Hawthorne Legacy. I'm just gonna say highly enjoyable as well. I actually could say that I liked it a bit more than the first book. I mean, I enjoyed them similarly, but like the second book was really gripping, and I feel like it had even more like action and plot twists, and it was even more engaging than the first one. Okay, and now the next book in this series and the last one that I read, there's actually like more books after this, but I just haven't had a chance to read them yet. But this book is called The Final Gambit. And since I enjoyed it the least out of the three, I think I will put it in decent. Like it wasn't really necessarily bad, but I just felt like, first of all, a lot of the ideas and themes were like being repeated over and over again in like the entire series, and like the family tree by the end it got so twisted that I was really confused about who is like related to whom. It was really crazy, and I also didn't really like the romance. So it started off as a love triangle, but she kind of, ended up with like one of these guys, the one that I actually was not rooting for, so that's why it was hard for me to enjoy it. But anyway, like it was still decent. I still had fun reading it, but it was definitely my least favorite in this series. Okay, next one we've got One of Us is Lying. And I'm gonna have to say decent as well. Again, it's like a YA thriller mystery about this group of students, and they are put in detention, but one of them suddenly dies, and the like remaining ones are the suspects in this case, and the story is told from like the perspective of all of them, so like we get to know all of them a little better. It was decent. I had fun reading it, but it wasn't anything spectacular. I actually was a little disappointed with the ending because I thought it was a little bit strange and ridiculous. Like I just was not sure what to think about it. So yeah, it was decent, but like I didn't love it. And next we've got The Sundown Motel. Oh my goodness. I think I'm gonna put this one in unforgettable because I just remember enjoying this one so much. First of all, it was really creepy. The atmosphere was so terrifying. I really liked many of the characters, so I had a great time following this story. It was just so engaging and interesting, so I definitely highly recommend this one, and I definitely can say that it's unforgettable. Okay, the next one is The Housemaid. So Like, I'm kind of torn between these two. Maybe let's put it in highly enjoyable. Like, I still love this one so much and I would definitely recommend it, but maybe it's not as good as the books that I put in Unforgettable. But basically, The Housemate, it's like a psychological thriller. This book, it was really, really unsettling, but like when you get to the end and like you realize the behaviors, like why certain characters were behaving this or that way, I was just mind blown. It's such a good suspenseful thriller and I highly recommend it. The next one, we've got Truly Devious. I remember not liking this one that much. Actually, I don't really remember that much about it, so I might put it in forgettable. I remember not really liking any of the characters. And like, while definitely the atmosphere was creepy and suspenseful, I don't know, it just lacked something. I didn't really feel hooked. I also believe that like, because it is a series, and I think in this book we didn't really get the answer to like the like biggest questions that I had, so maybe that's why like I was a little unsatisfied, because I felt like there was no like concrete conclusion. Like, I do know it's a series and I should read the next book to probably find out some things, but I might reread it later in the future and give it one more chance, but for now I will put it in forgettable. Okay. Next one is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. So yeah, actually if you go on like Goodreads or whatever, the average rating is not that great, but I definitely didn't let that impact my review in any way. You know, I really went into this book hoping that it's going to be great, because I generally really enjoy Riley Sager's books and I definitely want to read more books that were written by him, because I think that he is really good at writing thrillers. And honestly, I think maybe like the first half of the book, I had really high hopes and I thought that I will end up really enjoying it. But especially the point when we got to the big reveal, I was like, what? And it's not even in like a good way, because usually like when you're reading a thriller and you are hit with like a really surprising plot twist, you're like, wow, what? Like, you're surprised and shocked in like a very good way. But this one was like quite the opposite. I was so disappointed. It was shocking, I'm not gonna lie, but it just felt so ridiculous. So after that, I read it till the end, but I'm gonna be honest, it was not a nice time. I couldn't really get into the story after that point. I felt like the story was ruined and nothing could fix it. So honestly, I do think it's maybe even the worst thriller that I've ever read. Now, I do know that some people might enjoy it, but it's a very specific type of thriller. I don't want to give away too much because I don't want to spoil it to people, but I really did not enjoy that one. Okay, the next book on my list is The Guest List by Lucy Foley. And actually it's pretty funny because I think after I finished it, I gave it a pretty good ranking. Actually, let me check. Oh my god, this is crazy. I gave it 4.5 stars. But the crazy thing is I don't remember anything about this book. Like, I'm really trying to think very hard and I don't remember anything. So I think it was meant to go into forgettable. I just think like maybe when I was reading it, I was like really enjoying it. But like compared to the other thrillers, it was quite forgettable. Or maybe it's just the fact that there were a lot of characters and many of them were narrators, so it might have made it a little less memorable when you don't have like a very memorable narrator that guides you through the story. I'm not sure, But honestly, I don't remember the plot twists. I don't really remember any of the characters, I will be honest. I can't even name one of them. And it's not even like I read it such a long time ago. I think it was like last year probably. But I don't remember anything about it. So, if I was doing this video after I finished this book, maybe I would have put it in highly enjoyable. But because I'm making this video now, I have to put it in forgettable, unfortunately. The next book is The Reappearance of Rachel Price. And now I kind of want to put it in unforgettable because the plot twists were so mind-blowing that I really do think about them a lot to this day. Like, this book really crosses my mind a lot. But there were a few things that I didn't like that much, so I think I will end up putting in highly enjoyable. So like mystery wise, it was such a good book and it just had me gasping by the end of it. It was so shocking and some of the scenes genuinely scared me. Mystery wise, I could put it in unforgettable, but I'm going to be honest, I didn't really like Belle, and Belle is the main character, so she appears in the book a lot, and I don't know, she just was a bit annoying. And the author also put this like very small like romance subplot, which like I know she did the same in A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, but it felt a lot more like natural and just heartwarming. And in The Reappearance of Rachel Price, it felt just awkward and forced, and I don't even know why this romance subplot exists. I don't know, like these two things just took away from my final rating, so that's why I'm putting in highly enjoyable. I still enjoyed it and I still would highly recommend it, but there were just some things that I personally didn't enjoy. The next book on the list is 5 Survive by Holly Jackson again. As you can see, I do like Holly Jackson a lot, and this book I think I will also put in highly enjoyable. Yeah, I think it deserves to go here. It was really suspenseful. So this book talks about a group of teenagers that get stuck in the middle of nowhere inside their RV, and there is like a sniper outside that is targeting them. So this book really kept me at the edge of my seat. I literally felt as if I was inside that RV with them, which obviously is terrifying. And the plot was at the end was also really mind-blowing, and I definitely couldn't predict it. So this was just such a fast-paced and gripping thriller, and I definitely highly enjoyed it. Okay, next up we've got The Overnight Guest. I think I will put it in decent. Like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a very well-written and atmospheric thriller, and definitely I remember that my jaw dropped when all of the dots were finally connected. So I definitely enjoyed it, but maybe, I didn't enjoy them as much as the thrillers that I put up here. So I will put it in decent. I definitely think it deserves a little more hype. Like, I don't think that many people talk about this thriller. So if you want some underappreciated thriller, then you can give this one a chance, because I had a great time reading it. Okay, the next book is If We Were Villains. So this is a dark academia book, but it's also classified as a mystery. Where would I put it? I think I would put it in decent as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I do know it was very well written. I think it was actually quite emotional and dark as well. It had a lot of like Shakespeare quotes, because we follow a group of theater students that are really into Shakespeare, so they just like keep quoting Shakespeare, and some people will like it, some will find it tiring at some point, especially those that are not really like Shakespeare enthusiasts. I personally found it a bit tiring, but again, I think the writing was very good. The ending itself, it wasn't like super shocking, but it was quite heart-wrenching. I definitely enjoyed it. I feel like it was quite an emotional read compared to the other ones. I did like it, but I think like if I compare it to these books, I cannot really put it in the same tier. So let's keep it in the decent tier. Next, we've got another book by Riley Sager, that is Home Before Dark. And this one also has to go to Unforgettable. I think very similar to The Only One Left. This one was also full of plot twists and turns of events and just things that I could never ever predict. This book definitely made my jaw drop. It was also really dark and atmospheric, so I enjoyed it so much, and it's definitely one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I think all these 4 thrillers I put on top definitely are my favorites. And now let's move on to the last book, which is The Silent Patient. And I think I will put this one in highly enjoyable. It was definitely really fast paced, and the chapters were really short, so it's a great book to read if you are in a reading slump. Similar to The Housemaid, this one is also a psychological thriller. It's like a very well written complex mystery, and I definitely was shocked at the end. I couldn't predict the ending, and it was actually the author's like debut novel, which I think is really amazing because this book got so popular and so many people enjoy it. So I'm really impressed that this was his debut book actually, and I remember enjoying this so much. Okay, so now I've rated all of these books. Looking at this ranking one last time, I think I'm quite satisfied with it. I think it reflects how I feel about these books pretty well, so I think I did quite a good job. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Do let me know what are your favorite mystery thrillers down in the comments below. I'm always on the lookout for more amazing thrillers and mysteries, so hit me with some recommendations. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!